Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living Sarasota. We're here to support you in finding a personal relationship with the God of your understanding and discovering what you already know. My name is Jaren Nelson, and I'm a licensed spiritual practitioner here at the Center. And I greet you now with Namaste. Namaste is a Sanskrit word, and it means the divinity in me recognizes and honors the divinity in you. Let's begin by joining our voices from wherever you might be to read aloud our vision and mission. The words can now be seen on your screen. Our vision is empowering spiritual growth as a loving, inclusive, worldwide community. And this is our mission. We are a loving, inclusive, worldwide community empowering spiritual growth. We do this by teaching science of mind principles and other life-affirming spiritual truths. We explore, we learn, we grow, we connect, honoring all paths to God. We offer in-person and online weekly services, classes, workshops, affirmative prayer support, and other spiritual tools. We create opportunities for joyful social connection, community outreach, and service. We celebrate the awakening of our innate spiritual magnificence. And speaking of joyful social connection, today at 11 a.m., immediately following our service, we are hosting a coffee and chat. This time in community is held via Zoom online conferencing, so please check your inbox for the Zoom link that was emailed to you this week. We have now come to the time in our service where we pause and we take a few moments to go within. I encourage you to get comfortable, relax the body, perhaps close the eyelids and allow your breathing and mind chatter to slow down. Find that inner stillness that's always within and listen as Poindexter sets the tone with I Need to Be Still by Suze Ogden. You may even want to sing or hum along.
I need to be still and let God love me. I need to be still and let God love me. When this old world seems to push and shove me, I need to be still and let God love me. I need to let go and let God take over. I need to let go and let God take over. And take these burdens off my shoulders. I need to let go and let God take over. I need to be still and let God love me. I need to be still and let God love me. When this old world seems to push and shove me, I need to be still and let God love me. I need to be still. I need to be still. I need to be still and let God love me.
We know that God is all there is. We know that God is love, so love is all there is. We reside in and are one with God, with love. Knowing this, we let down our walls and allow our hearts to be receptive to allowing the love of God, which is already within us, to come to the forefront of our conscious awareness and doing. We declare we are worthy of love, and we know that what is true for us to be true for all. We therefore allow the love of God in, as, and through us to go out into the world, greeting all. As we share our innate divine love, it circulates and boomerangs back to us, so that we now have the experience of having more love to share. Our well of love never runs dry, for divine love is infinite. We trust that infinite love is always guiding and protecting us. Here and now, we allow our soul to be counseled in the way of right and affirmative living. And the heart and lives of all humanity benefit as a result. With gratitude, we breathe a collective sigh of relief, knowing and steadfastly holding to the truth that love is the true essence of all. Daily we affirm that divine love goes before us and makes the way clear, satisfying, and joyful. Daily we allow the infinite love of God to be reignited in us by the pilot light of divine love that can never be extinguished or diminished. Daily we allow ourselves to bathe and fully immerse in the vast love which is God. With great gratitude, we allow ourselves and all to be eternally lifted by the wings of divine love. We gratefully allow this to unfold, and so it is. Today, we are delighted to have our spiritual leader, the Reverend Karen Wolfson, sharing another inspiring message with us entitled, Love, Let God Love You. However, before we hear about how we can experience more of God's love, we are going to hear once again from today's talented guest soloist, Jay Poindexter, accompanied by Bob Teesdale. They will be opening our hearts to God's goodness with God is So Good by Eddie Watkins Jr. Welcome, Jay and Bob.
I don't care what's on TV about the state of the economy. I don't believe most of what I see. I know what I know to be. God is so good all the time. God is so good all the time. God is so good, so good all the time. Well, I'm walking by faith and not by sight, 'cause what seems wrong today, tomorrow might seem right. All is well and it's all good and unfolding as it should. God is so good all the time. God is so good all the time. God is so good, so good all the time. God is so good through the highs and lows, so good through the troubles and woes, so good through the peaks and valleys. I can feel the spirit inside me, so good all the time. I want to testify and let me tell you why it's so good through my darkest hour, so good. I call on the mighty power, so good to carry me through. You better believe it's true. God is so good, so good all the time. Yeah, God is so good through the highs and lows, so good through the troubles and woes, so good through the peaks and valleys. I can feel the spirit inside me, so good all the time, all the time,
All the time,
oh, all the time,
all the time,
yeah, all the time.
all the time,
Oh, all the time.
all the time.
So good, so good, all the time.
Oh, I love that song. God is so good all the time. Thank you, Jay and Bob. And hi, everyone. Listen to those words. Through the highs and the lows, the troubles and the woes, through my darkest hour, you better believe it's true. God is so good all the time. All the time. Let that sink in. You know, this month now being the month of Valentine's and Thoughts of Love, our Sunday messages are all about love. Today, love, let God love you. And next Sunday, love yourself. Yes, you. Third Sunday, love the world. Really? And then the final Sunday, soul love. But first, let's check in with each other. I'm so happy knowing you're out there. Each one of you know that. You know I think about you all the time, and I ask the question in my mind, how are you doing? Wondering how this new year, 2021, is shaping up for you and your family. You can let me know with a quick email. Oh, I know I say that every Sunday, but I know you're busy, and so this is just a little loving nudge. And if you're watching us on Facebook Live, we enjoy your letting us know where you are and your comments. I love when you let me know you're out there. And today, you can let me know you're out there in a very special way, because after today's broadcast, right at 11 o'clock, I hope you'll join us for our monthly laid-back, informal coffee and chat on Zoom. Information for all of that will be at the end of this broadcast, and you can also find the link on our website, www.cslsarasota.com. So, welcome and thank you for being with us, and to you, our team of financial contributors. You have been an absolutely essential part of all that makes it possible for us to share our message, our caring, our connection, and we'll continue doing this, for the next several months. Thank you for standing by us. And thank you all for joining with us today. As I think of you, I continue to affirm and see you as vibrantly healthy and abundantly supported in every way. So today, love. Let God love you. You heard that chant, I need to be still and let God love me. You know, I heard that chant at a spiritual retreat I attended several years ago, and I wept as I heard those two sweet lines. What a relief. Somehow, I'd never quite thought of God's love in that way. I need to be still and let God love me. When this old world seems to push and shove me, and don't we all know that feeling? I need to let go and let God take these burdens off my shoulders. I need to be still and let God love me. If there's one thing I dearly want you to take away with you today, that's it. Let God love you. You know, at least for me, and maybe for you, it seems in our sincere desire to deepen our spiritual experience, we assume that process is directly a result of how much we love God, period. And if things aren't going so well, we assume that we're just not loving God enough, and so we double down and try harder. I'm not loving God enough. And you know, that is code for I'm not good enough, or I'm not obedient enough, or I'm not trying hard enough, I'm not well behaved enough. Oh yes, we might think God probably loves me, but with reservations, because I just don't measure up. I don't love God enough. By the way, when I'm talking about God here, I'm talking about higher power, spirit, source, the one, the infinite, invisible, whatever name works for you. That's something that is beyond words, and certainly not some old guy in the sky waiting to be appreciated. You know, God doesn't need your love. God has no complex about this. It's like the sun. Have you noticed how the sun lavishly shines on us and for us, whether or not we even notice, let alone love it? And also realize that God is energy. God is loving energy. God is love. And God, being infinite, created us out of itself. It had to. And so by its very nature, it lavishly loves its creation. How could it not? Including, of course, you and me. Of course, for us to love God it's wonderful, and it is something we do for our benefit, not for God's benefit. But that's another message for another day. So as you heard in that song, God is so good all the time. Well, take that to heart. And this Valentine's month, I want you to notice every single Valentine from God to you. Little Valentine post-it love notes. But more about those in a moment. So, as lovely as the idea is, God loving you, it can still seem abstract and like just a swell idea. So let's tap into the feeling tone of that. For example, do you have or have you had a dear friend or a family member whom you know without a doubt loves you without reservation? This brings to mind for me my dear Finnish grandmother who had little. She lived a simple life. She certainly couldn't lavish me with gifts or provide exciting activities to entertain me to show her love. And yet, I just felt her comforting, warm love from the time I was very young. I just knew, and I felt it. Of course, it helped that whenever I went to visit her and Grandpa, asking rather shyly if I could get a sugar cube or two from her pantry, and she said always, "Well, honey, of course." That made me feel very loved. But I felt totally loved and cared for by my grandmother. And to this day, although she's been gone for many years, that special love melts my heart. I still feel it. Now, maybe, for example, you might want to think about the totally unconditionally love you receive from your grandchild or a beloved pet. Somehow, in those experiences, I know you love them, but how about feeling how loved you are? That feeling tone. So whatever your experience of feeling loved, I want you to realize that is God loving you. I'm not saying it's like God loving you. I'm saying it is God loving you. Because everything and everyone is comprised of the one loving energy that is God by any name. And there are so many ways God's love shows up for us, but we simply don't notice. Father Richard Rohr wrote this. He said, once we know that the entire physical world around us, all of creation, is both the hiding place and the revealing place for God, God's love energy, this world becomes home, safe, enchanted, offering love to anyone who looks and listens deeply. And there's a poet named Thea Sky, and she put it this way. Once upon a time, every living thing had a voice, and every place you walked, you could hear the whispers if you listened close enough. The world still whispers. Perhaps we've forgotten how to listen. It's all God. God is love, and then all is love. Wow. Now, sometimes it is so difficult to see God, to see love in the pain of life. We may feel as though God has abandoned us, but if God is everywhere present, it can't possibly abandon us. The poet Kabir said it this way, "Are you looking for the Holy One? I am in the next seat. My shoulder is against yours." Here is a story, a true story, about a woman, as told by her, going through a time when she felt so abandoned by God. She said, "My young husband had just died of cancer. And there I was, a frightened widow and a mother of an 11-year-old son. My husband had been my love, my confidant, and my protector. And now I was alone. Although my Jewish religious belief was shaky at best, I still felt driven to cry out my pain, to spew my anger at the God who had taken my husband from me. I started a Google search for a synagogue, and I called the first rabbi on the list. I told him I needed to have a discussion with God, probably a loud one, and that I needed to be alone in the synagogue to do this. And then I promised I would speak to him afterward. So the rabbi agreed. I walked into the synagogue shaking, almost uncontrollably. "How could you do this to me?" I screamed at the God I wasn't sure existed. To him? How could you do this to him, to our son? How could you do this? My fight with God lasted for more than an hour, my pain pouring out of me. I cried out my hatred and my grief for what had happened. I cried out my fear-drenched anxiety for what lay ahead. I judged God harshly as the cruel thief of all that had kept me whole. It was the hardest battle I had ever waged, the most violent words I had ever spoken. And then at the end of the hour, I was overcome with guilt. How could I allow myself to feel this kind of anger and hatred toward a God I had been taught was my ultimate protector? What kind of person was I? Well, I quietly climbed the stairs to the rabbi's office. "Rabbi, I'm Carol," I began. My husband just died, and I have spent the last hour screaming at God. Now I feel so guilty. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Well, the rabbi paused, and then he shrugged his shoulders. He smiled gently and said, "At least it's a relationship. At least it's a relationship." I didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but more importantly, those words immediately took the pressure off me. I didn't have to stop feeling how I was feeling. I didn't have to make it all better. I could be as mad and as hurt as I wanted to be, and that was okay. That day in the synagogue, I learned about my relationship with God. I learned that I did not need to sit in judgment of my chaotic feelings. I learned about my true connection to God. I will never forget the kindness of the rabbi who set me on the path to coping with my anguish, to put aside my self-judgment and allow myself my feelings, whatever they might be, even if it means yelling at God. At least it's a relationship. Ernest Holmes, the architect of our philosophy, wrote this beautiful passage about the relationship. He wrote, "Through the long night watches, his hand clasps mine. At the break of dawn, his hand clasps mine. In the daytime of work and endeavor, his hand clasps mine." And he goes on to say, "And when time shall have passed and eternity shall be strewn about like falling petals, his hand will clasp mine." It's a relationship. So what might it feel like to let God, to let go, so that God can love you? Well, I love what author Mark Nepo wrote, and I'm going to share from his words. He wrote, "When first learning how to swim, I did not trust the deep water. No matter how many assuring voices I heard from the shore, I strained and I flapped to keep my chin above the surface. It exhausted me. And then, only when I was exhausted did I relax enough to immerse myself to the point that I could feel the cradle of the deep keep me afloat." He goes on to say, "When thrust into any situation over our head, our reflex is to fight with all our might the terrible feeling that we're sinking. Yet the more we resist, the more we wear ourselves out. At times like this," Nepo says, "I remember how I learned to float. Mysteriously, it required letting most of my body rest below the water's surface before it would hold me up. It seems to me that," he continues, "almost 40 years later, finding our faith is very much like that. We need to rest enough of ourselves below the surface of things until we find ourselves being held. And this is not easy to do. But the essence of trust is believing you'll be held up if you let go. And there's no real way to prepare for letting go other than to just let go." He says, "Trusting the universe is all about moving through the sense of sinking before realizing we are being held up. When we stop struggling, we float. We float. That's being still and letting God love me. That's what it can feel like to just let go." Now, what might that look like? Letting God love me. Well, for me, when I'm feeling kerfluffled, rattled, cranky, not loved, I just stop. When I remember, I stop and sit for a spell. That means I stop and sit for a minute or maybe 5, and I just notice. I notice with my 5 senses. I feel the relief of just being off the conveyor belt of life and noticing that I don't have to do a thing in those moments. Evidence of being loved and supported is all around me. I can sense that with my five senses. And it's little things that give me joy and pleasure in just that moment, a moment of peace, a moment of laughter, something I'm looking at, something I'm feeling. Happens this week when I was preparing this message, I took a break and went into the kitchen, and I was at the kitchen sink, and I happened to look through the window from a different angle than normally, and I saw an immensely tall tree. I'd never looked at it this way before. I've seen it, I'm sure, but I'd never seen it this way. It was so majestic. It took my breath away. I felt that was a love note from God. How is all of that not love? How is it not evidence of God loving me? So I can then stop flailing and whining and kvetching. Here's what one woman wrote about this experience and those little things that are like love notes from God. And let me say, some things are very big love notes from God too. She wrote, my grown children were coming home for the weekend, and all day long I had been very busy cleaning and organizing. I went grocery shopping, and I was cooking and preparing for a barbecue supper. It was going to be wonderful, and I wanted everything to be perfect. And suddenly it dawned on me that I was exhausted. I've got to rest for a moment, I told myself. And this popped into my mind. Be still and know that I am God. Then the thought of my beautiful patio came to mind. The flowers and the hanging baskets were breathtaking. It was definitely a healing or a heavenly place of rest and tranquility. I thought, I can be quiet out there. And oh, I longed for a few moments alone to be still with God. So I slipped out the back door and sat down on my favorite patio chair. I closed my eyes and I began to count my many blessings. And then a bird interrupted my thoughts, loudly chirping and flying around by me. It flew away and I closed my eyes again. And a gust of wind blew, which caused my wind chimes to make, well, yes, a joyful sound, but right now I didn't want a sound. Again, I lost my concentration on God. And then my dog and cat were noisily chasing each other, causing quite a commotion. And then the telephone rang. I squirmed and I wiggled in my chair, and again I bowed in prayer. Honk, honk, I heard. Almost jumped out of my skin. A neighbor was driving down the street. He waved at me and he smiled. I quickly tried once again to settle down, repeating in my mind, be still and know that I am God. I'm trying, God, I really am, I whispered. But you've got to help me here. I was impatient. Where's the quiet time, I asked God. This is impossible, I thought. There's no time to be still and to know that God is with me. There's too much going on in the world and entirely too much activity all around me. And then it suddenly dawned on me. God was speaking to me the entire time I was attempting to be still. I remembered the sparrow to lighten my life with a song, my adorable playful pets, the gentle breeze and the really lovely wind chimes, the neighbor to let me know that I had a friend. And while I had been trying to be still and count my blessings, God was busy loving me by multiplying them. I laughed to realize that the interruptions of my quiet time were special blessings sent to show me that God was loving me the entire time. It's about recognizing those Valentines from God. Dr. Ernest Holmes wrote, the divine is always present and appears wherever recognized. Your endeavor is not so much to find God as it is to recognize that this presence is always with you. And he continues, consciously I draw close to my divine center, the source of all that is. I feel the warmth of its presence. So I ask you, try it today. Try it this week. Let God love you. and you will find that you are lifted higher and higher. As Jay is going to sing a rousing recognition of that, God's love keeps lifting me higher and higher. Know that, and know you are so loved. And I'll see you soon.
God's love is lifting me higher than I've ever been lifted before. Keep it up, guide our desires, and we'll live our dreams forevermore. God's love keeps lifting me, keeps on lifting me higher and higher, higher. God's love keeps lifting me, keeps on lifting me higher and higher. Now once I was downhearted, disappointment was my closest friend. But then you came and soon it departed, and it never showed its face again. God's love keeps lifting me, keeps on lifting me higher and higher, higher. God's love keeps lifting me, keeps on lifting me higher and higher. I'm so glad I finally found you. You're that one in a million, friend. When you wrap your love and thoughts around me, I can stand up and face the world again. God's love keeps lifting me, keeps on lifting me higher and higher, higher. God's love keeps lifting me, keeps on lifting me higher and higher. God's love is lifting me higher than I've ever been lifted before. Keep it up, guide our desires, and we'll live our dreams forevermore. And we'll live our dreams forevermore.
Thank you, Reverend Karen, for your inspiring message, reminding us of the gift of love that has been given to us. Additionally, generous applause and gratitude to Jay and Bob for tying up Reverend Karen's message in a beautiful bow with your musical gift of God's love is lifting me higher. Here at the Center for Spiritual Living, Sarasota, we want you to know that we are available to you to support you in knowing the power and presence of your spiritual essence. We are here to offer prayer support, inspiration, encouragement, and opportunities for virtual community and connection. And we really appreciate your financial gifts so that we can continue to offer support to you. There are 3 simple ways to share your gift. On your screen, you'll see our website where you can click the donate button, which allows you to contribute via PayPal or credit card. You can also mail a check to our address that is shown here on the website screen that you're looking at, or set up automatic contributions through your own online banking. And now, I invite you to take your virtual gift in your hand, place it over your heart, blessing it as you share it and know with me, my gift goes forth to heal, to bless, and to prosper, and the divine flow returns it to me multiplied abundantly. Now please join me in saying our offering affirmation shown on your screen. I give thanks that I may share of my good, my love, and my support. Thank you so much. Additionally, did you know your financial support of our center also does good work in the Sarasota community and beyond? The Center for Spiritual Living Sarasota is a tithing community, meaning that we believe in sharing 10% of our financial good with local and national causes and organizations that are in tune with our vision of empowering spiritual growth as a loving, inclusive, worldwide community. So it is our joy to announce our tithe to Girls Incorporated of Sarasota. Their vision is inspiring all girls to be strong, smart, and bold. Their mission is dedicated to assuring high-impact services for a growing number of girls and expanding their advocacy efforts by setting bold goals and a clear strategic direction in partnership with national leadership. Thank you, our financial contributors, for making it possible for us to continue supporting you and also to tie to this organization's important work in the world. On our website at www.cslsarasota.com, we want to draw your attention to that green prayer request button. This button allows you to send us your prayer request. Our 4 licensed spiritual practitioners, Kathleen Frankert, Ron Frost, Jim Grove, and me, stand by, ready to know and affirm spiritual truth with and for you, no matter the situation. Here on our website, you can also sign up for our weekly email newsletter, or click on our Facebook link to see posts about upcoming events. In community news, I invite you to join me for pop-up prayers. Pop-up prayers are 5 to 10 minute videos focusing on a particular topic, where I offer a short reading or quote, an affirmative prayer, all rounded out by an affirmation to take with you. These videos are posted about once a week on our Facebook page, YouTube channel, and in our weekly e-newsletter. I also encourage you to submit prayer topics you'd like me to address in future videos to the email on your screen. Also, feel free to scroll through the topics addressed in previously posted pop-up prayers to find the encouragement and support that you need in any given moment. Also, continuing on Wednesday nights from 7 to 8 p.m., we have our spiritual living circles that take place on Zoom, facilitated by licensed spiritual practitioner Jim Grove. This is a great time and community and is open to all. This coming Wednesday, February the 10th, we will be discussing another article from the Current Science of Mind magazine, titled Faith, Love, and Courage by Andriette Earle. These circles are informal, they're inspiring, thought-provoking, and they cost nothing to attend. To participate in this week's Faith Lift, email Jim Grove at the address on your screen to receive the Zoom link, the discussion questions, and a copy of the article in case you don't have the February Science of Mind magazine on hand. We sure hope that you can join us. Also, I hope you can join us for coffee and chat today at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, soon after the service ends. Now, as we conclude this sacred time together, let us set the intention to move forward into our day and the week ahead, knowing that we go forward in peace, love, gratitude, and joy. I now invite you to join in singing our closing song, Let There Be Peace on Earth. The words will be on your screen. Thank you for being with us and have a wonderful week.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be with God our Creator. We are family. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every breath I take, let this be my solemn vow to take each moment and live each moment in